This young boy is Carl, and he resides in a small village with his parents. His father is a farmer who cultivated corn. Carl heard his parents saying they will lose the land if he doesn't complete the plowing by Friday. He took the initiative to assist his father because he saw how hard his father worked. His father initially forbade it and advised Carl to concentrate on his studies and play with his friends like other children, but due to his persistence, his father asked him to make a promise.
Make me a promise.
Sir?
Don't end up like me.
He eventually agreed to his assistance. Carl has matured over the course of a few years and as he is plowing the farm. His mother urges him to prepare to go. This was Carl's departure day for the United States Naval Selection Training. Just before they said goodbye, his father had to ask him to make a pledge never to go back to the village again, though it made him sad, but he wanted the best for his son, and knowing he would lose concentration if he were to worry about them back home.
Don't ever come back here. Get in there and fight, Carl. Don't take promises. Bust their rules if you have to. And when it gets hard, don't quit on me. Ever.
Whilst at the same time focusing on his career. However, the Navy at the time did not permit black individuals to enlist, so Carl only worked as a cook after arriving at base. This was still an era where black people were still seen as a lesser class and were the subject to institutional racism. Carl and his friend noticed some white sailors swimming. He was intrigued. His companion clarified that he had heard that white people and black people had different swimming timetables. He questioned why it needed to be distinct when they are both people. After Carl criticized the rules, he decided to jump off the ship and take a swim. All the white men were unhappy, and their captain sent his best swimmer to get him out of the water. However, Carl outswam him to the buoys, embarrassing them all. Because of this, he was imprisoned on deck. Some wanted him thrown off the ship as a result of the incident. However, when the ship's captain arrived, he expressed his admiration for Carl's swimming prowess. When the captain noticed that Carl was delighted, he subsequently added him to the rescue swim team.
You ever hear of the search and rescue swimmers? You know, you just became one. You're the fastest damn swimmer on this ship, and you have got the balls to back it up.
The next day, Carl witnessed a helicopter crash in the sea, and the ship's captain immediately summoned a diver to save the helicopter pilot. After a protracted wait, the diver eventually emerged. His name was Chief Sunday. He holds the Navy rank of Master Chief, which is the highest and best of all the divers. Even though it was a gallant rescue effort from Chief Sunday, the pilot lost his life. The co-pilot is still in the water, and a second diver dives down to save him. In that year, divers could only save one person who weighed more than 200 kilograms. When it was time for the second diver to descend, the safety line broke, sending the diver plummeting to the ocean below. Then, without a wetsuit, Chief Sunday furiously dives in to save him. In the end, they both survived, but because of the occurrence, he was taken to the hospital. He was admitted due to severe lung damage. The physician prohibited him from diving until he was fully recovered. When he learned of the doctor's conclusion, he became angry and caused a scene, which he tried to explain in a military court. Later on, the decision was made to demote him to coach the diving team during the trial, which included Carl. After seeing Chief Sunday conduct the rescue, Carl approaches the captain and requests permission to take part in diving instruction at the headquarters. He claimed to have been astounded by yesterday's rescue by Chief Sunday and is now motivated to follow in his footsteps as a hero. The captain's heart warmed upon witnessing his fierce commitment, and he was given permission to transition from the swimming division to the diving division. The next day, he arrived at the training camp. The guards are perplexed, because no black individual had ever been admitted to the Marine institution before. The arrival of Chief Sunday didn't take long. As he will be the diving camp's instructor, Carl then explains his motivation for attending, but Chief Sunday criticized him by claiming that the black man didn't deserve to be a diver and that black people should only be cooks. After Chief Sunday went, Carl was forced to remain at the gate and wait until Chief Sunday returned in the evening. On Chief Sunday's return, he offered to take Carl back to his hometown via car. But Carl resisted. Though frustrated with his treatment, he remembers his promise to his father. When Chief Sunday saw his resolve, he decided to let him in. A candidate named Snowhill approached him within the camp. He was the only white individual who greeted Carl. Snowhill was not prejudiced regardless of Carl's skin color. He showed him love. Snowhill then revealed that Mr. Pappy, a former Marine, oversees the camp. He then led Carl to his dorm room. There he encountered some white student who was resistant to his entrance. When Chief Sunday arrived, he informed the students that Carl is now a part of the student training camp. After hearing the coach's remarks, the other students began to leave the dorm one at a time, saying it would be better to leave the Navy than to share a room with black people. Eventually, only Carl was left with Snowhill. A passing student even wandered in and said that Carl should now understand his position. He cannot believe black folks are now accepted by Chief Sunday. Because of Carl, Chief Sunday's reputation has now been damaged. They had a rude awakening with the fire hose early in the morning, prior to the first training session. When the first training started, Chief Sunday warned that many individuals would fail the first exercise since swimming and diving are two distinct sports. The best swimmer in his hometown is Snow Hill. He then puts the one man who survived Snow Hill's diving talents to the test. He immediately pulled Snow Hill out of training because he couldn't dive. Carl and the other pupils continue to receive instruction daily. One day they conducted a written exam. Carl received poor grades. The officer let him know if the same thing happens on the next test, he would be dismissed from training. He made the decision to go to the public library to study. There he met Jo, a beautiful librarian. She is a nursing major, but when Carl requested Jo's help with his studies, she hesitated, claiming that the lessons in the Navy was extremely tough and it would take Carl months to comprehend. However, after seeing Carl's tenacity, she ultimately decided to assist him, and at last Carl was able to achieve good grades. One afternoon when Chief Sunday returned to teaching diving, he ordered fresh trainees named Rourke and Ashar to re-welded the sinking ship. However, when Ashar started welding, the ship unexpectedly shook and nearly crashed into a ravine. Everyone heard Rourke and Ashar cry for assistance as Ashar were trapped by the cables above. Carl then offered to save them both as they were at Chief Sunday's mercy. Both divers only have 5 minutes of oxygen before they perish. Chief Sunday gave Carl permission to attempt the rescue. Carl becomes frustrated when a terrified Ashar flees from him while he is saving them, but he maintains his focus on carrying out his objective to save his colleagues.
The ship's weight is crushing those pipes, Chief.
You got 5 minutes of air in that suit if you don't panic.
You should go up to chasing. Just breathe easy.
Please. I wasn't made.
Chief Sunday then reads out the medal from the Navy commander, but the award is given to Rourke. Even though Carl was crucial in preserving the lives of his teammates, he was overlooked because he is black. The commander continued to refuse to recognize his services. After seeing Carl's patience, the other students experience sympathy and slowly develop a desire to be friends with him. Carl made a call to his parents in the village the following day. He was saddened to learn from his mother that his father had passed away. His mother informed him that his father was gravely ill. However, he withheld the news of his health on purpose so that Carl could continue to concentrate on his career and pursue his objectives without being distracted by his condition. He then invited Jo to join him in the waiting area. When they arrive at the pub, a woman approaches Carl and reveals that she is the Chief Sunday's wife. She claimed that they both have the same fate after Sunday's wife witnessed Carl crying. She is currently depressed because on their wedding day Chief Sunday preferred to party with his friends instead. She extends an invitation to Carl to join her husband's party. After the remarks were reported to Chief Sunday, he then reprimanded Carl and said that black people didn't deserve to be there. Carl grew enraged and for the first time ventured to argue with his coach in anger. He claimed that because he was better than him, his coach felt envious. Jo was seated at the bar. She was perplexed by the uproar. Chief Sunday then dares Carl to an underwater challenge while holding his breath. The deal is Carl will be kicked out of training if he loses, but if he wins, he'll let Snow Hill back in diver training. Carl, who had grown quite tired of his coach's constant insults, decided to take on the challenge there and then. Against the odds, Carl won. On completion of the challenge, he couldn't locate Jo. He couldn't understand why she left. He ran after her. Jo told him that she had come to say farewell, because she's been hired for a position outside the city and was departing the next day. Carl was surprised by that. He promised Jo that he would visit her during his training and after graduation. Mr. Pappy contacted Chief Sunday. He requested that Carl fail the exam the next day.
Just don't mix. There may come a day when a colored diver graduates from this school, but it won't be tomorrow, or as long as I'm here.
Even though they both disliked Carl and despite Mr. Pappy's desire for no black individuals to graduate from the camp, Chief Sunday detested the way he exploited his authority in order to further his own interests. Since the result of their challenge, Chief Sunday came to the realization that Carl was far superior to him, but he was unable to defy his superior's commands. Chief Sunday and Carl then quarrels over his desire to take the exam after Chief Sunday had relayed the directive to him. Out of anger, the radio Carl's father gave to him was damaged. They both let their emotions take over and banged it. Carl is dejected. When everyone was getting ready the following day, Carl unexpectedly arrived. He then turned and gave his coach a confident smile. He was finally forced to let him take the test. When everybody was ready, several people tossed their bags carrying the toolkits into the water, but when it was Carl's turn, The bag was cut open on Mr. Pappy's instructions. He had no idea what was under the water, but he was still looking for the tools. Several hours passed. The exam was successfully completed by each participant one at a time until only Carl remained in the water. Mr. Pappy, the exam monitor, then instructed the chief to let Carl remain in the water until he ran out of breath.
Don't bring him up till he stops moving.
He's near dead now, sir.
Not till he stops moving, Chief.
Chief Sunday was put in a difficult situation because he couldn't deny Mr. Pappy's commands without ruining his job and career. Meanwhile, Joe is feeling uneasy about Carl at work, so she hurried to the exam location where Carl was still trying to complete the exam. The chief and the other test takers appear to be growing anxious. Mr. Pappy kept yelling at Chief over the load hailer to tell him not to assist Carl during his anxiety. Carl abruptly came to the surface and the other participants tried to pull him from under, and he passed. Chief Sunday had finally made the decision to defy his boss's commands. Snow Hill visited camp the following day after the graduation ceremony to deliver some news. He will resume diver training. On the other hand, Chief Sunday was fired for disobeying Mr. Pappy orders. Carl remained quiet because deep in his heart he knows Chief Sunday is a good man. As Carl arranged his belongings on the bed, he was taken aback to discover that his father's radio was repaired. After a few years, he learned that Chief Sunday had rectified it. Carl is now a senior diver in the Navy, he is married to Joe, and they have a son. He is currently completing the most important task in American naval history. Specifically, to locate a nuclear bomb that sank to the seafloor. The commander informed him that a whole region could be annihilated if the bomb detonated. The commander initially believed that Carl couldn't finish the job by himself, but he later showed everyone that they were wrong. Carl, who was formerly hated solely for being black, saw his victory streamed on TV across America. He is now a hero. When the bomb was lifted, the commander gave the other crew members the order to lower it to the ground. And tragedy struck. Carl is astonished when he finally awakens. He wondered why he is hospitalized. Then Joe told him it was a result of what happened yesterday. He badly injured his leg, and as a result, he will never be able to walk normally again. He was horrified to learn this and felt ashamed for letting his father down by not upholding his pride. Chief Sunday, on the other hand, was seen in a mental hospital because of acute sadness. He was aware of Carl's accident from yesterday's news. He was forced to visit Carl in the hospital because he had been his teacher. Soon after Hanks, a naval captain, arrived, the commander and his aide also went to visit Carl. Carl pleaded for permission to start working again after his recovery. The proud Air Force pilot who only had one leg asked Captain Hanks to give him a few weeks to prove that he too could perform his diving duties and become the pride of the Navy. However, Captain Hanks reluctantly stated that he would never be able to dive again after seeing his current condition. He then showed me the newspaper story. Carl then makes a big decision. In order to avoid getting in the way of his goal, he requested that the doctor amputate his leg. Joe, who had overheard their chat, instantly reprimanded Carl for his domineering desire once everyone had left. Carl struggles with the decision to continue to pursue his aspirations. He must make up his mind to continue or give up and lives a normal life with a small family. He ultimately decided to go for his goal once more. He began practicing life on one leg, while he was healing from surgery. While everyone is still training, the chief enters and explains that when he read the news about Carl, he thought that they both shared the same fate, because they both slumped as they could no longer dive. However, he was aware of Carl's determination to succeed, because he had been his teacher previously. He then pledged to try to persuade the Navy officials to allow him to resume diving. In addition, he will support him during his post-surgery recuperation time, and until the conference's scheduled conclusion, with the aim of deciding Carl's future in the Navy. On the day of the hearing, Carl answered a few questions, but a guard stationed at the door prevented Chief Sunday from entering the courtroom. Captain Hanks challenged Carl to walk 12 steps in a wetsuit weighing more than 200 pounds after ordering one of the guards to bring one. Then, Chief Sunday lost his cool and forced the guard to ultimately let him in out of fear. The guard did. When the door was opened, he was shocked to witness Carl being ordered to wear the wetsuit in court. The chief of the group, who was also watching the struggle with Carl's wife and son, Chief Sunday begged the decision panel for mercy, saying that even regular people find it difficult to walk in such a heavy wetsuit, let alone Carl. However, Carl assured the chief with a confident expression that he would show that poverty is not an impediment to achieving one's goals. The chief, Munoz, was impressed by his student's resolve, decided to back Carl's choice when everything was prepared. He began to get up and perform his 12 steps.
3, 4, 8. God damn it, Cookie. Move your ass. I want my 12. 9, the Navy diver. Now you report to this line, Cookie. Howdy.
He eventually finished his 12 moves. After observing Carl's efforts, Captain Hanks and the other upper management personnel decided to permit Carl to rejoin the Navy divers. The entire crowd burst into applause after being startled to see Carl struggle in the midst of the festivities. Chief Sunday gave a final salute to the black kid who had given him a vital lesson about having the willpower to follow one's aspirations. He turned to leave. This believed to be the conclusion of Chief Sunday's teaching duties. Thanks for watching the recap. Kindly subscribe to our channel to get notified when we post